Have you ever sat and really thought about what it must be like to raise kids with someone you used to love, someone who was your partner for years, but now, you're no longer together? It's already tough enough for most of us to navigate co-parenting. There's scheduling, emotions, differences in values, unexpected changes, and that's all before you even get to dealing with your own feelings. Now, imagine throwing worldwide fame into the mix. Every move you make being watched. Every disagreement possibly turning into a headline. That's a whole new level of pressure, right? Well, here's something that might surprise you. Johnny Depp, yeah, the Johnny Depp, the one we know from blockbusters like Pirates of the Caribbean, Edward Scissorhands, Finding Neverland, says that one of the most important and fulfilling roles in his life isn't acting. It's being a dad. And the way he's talked about parenting his children, especially after separating from his longtime partner Vanessa Paradis, really gives us something to think about. It's heartfelt. It's vulnerable. And honestly, it's a masterclass in co-parenting with grace. So if you're new here, hey, welcome. We're all about real stories here. The ones that show the human side behind the fame, behind the red carpets and magazine covers. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make it through life the best we can. And today, we're taking a look at how Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis, two very public people, managed to raise their children with love, stability, and respect, even after their romantic relationship came to an end. And along the way, we'll unpack a few things we can learn from their approach, no matter what our own lives look like. So let's go back a bit, to when their story began. Vanessa Paradis, a name you might already know. She's an accomplished French singer, actress, and model. Elegant, graceful, talented, the kind of person who's known not just for her art, but for how she carries herself. She and Johnny Depp met in 1998, and for the next 14 years, they built a life together. They weren't married, but they didn't need the label. They had something strong. Something solid. And out of that love came two children, Lily Rose and Jack Depp. For over a decade, they lived what seemed like a quiet life, at least, as quiet as it can be when you're internationally known. They moved between France and Los Angeles, staying away from the spotlight as much as possible when it came to their family. They weren't out chasing headlines. They were just being parents. Trying to give their kids something normal. Something safe. But eventually, as life sometimes goes, their relationship came to an end. And here's where it could have gone sideways. Because breakups, even the private ones, can be messy. Add in lawyers, media speculation, paparazzi, and it's a recipe for disaster. But instead, Johnny and Vanessa made a decision. A very grown-up, very intentional decision, that their kids would come first. Always. And that single decision shaped everything that came after. They didn't fight publicly. They didn't throw blame around. They didn't use the press to vent personal grievances. Instead, they kept it respectful. Quiet. They focused on giving their children a peaceful, loving environment, no matter what had happened between the two of them. Johnny has said that Vanessa gave him a kind of grounding he never had before. That when his world felt like it was spinning out of control, with the fame, the demands of Hollywood, the pressure, she was the one who kept things steady. She gave him not only love but the experience of real family. And when you hear him talk about her, even now, there's this sense of deep respect. Of gratitude. He talks about parenting in a way that's really refreshing. No big, grand statements. No pretending to be perfect. Just simple truths. Like, you don't have to be the perfect parent. You just have to be there. That hits home, doesn't it? So many of us worry about getting it right, about saying the right things, doing the right things, being the perfect role model. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do as a parent is just show up. Sit with your kid. Listen to them. Let them know they're not alone. And that's exactly what Johnny tries to do. He sees himself not as someone who needs to control everything, but as someone who's there to support. To create space. He listens before he speaks. He lets his kids express themselves, even when it's hard. Even when it would be easier to shut it down. And that approach really came into focus when Lily Rose started stepping into the spotlight on her own. She began modeling and acting, just like her parents. For a lot of dads, especially famous ones, that could have been terrifying. You want to protect your daughter from the harshness of the public eye. You want to shield her from criticism, from judgment. And of course, Johnny felt all of that. But instead of trying to control her choices, he supported her. He stood beside her. He let her grow. That kind of trust doesn't show up overnight. It's built, moment by moment, year by year. And even though Johnny's life has been filled with ups and downs, he's tried to give his kids one thing: consistency. He's protected their privacy. He's kept them out of the limelight whenever possible. He didn't treat them like props for his image. He treated them like people. Like his children. And Vanessa was right there, too. She and Johnny may not have been a couple anymore, but they were still partners in parenting. They stayed aligned on what mattered. They worked together to keep things steady, even when things got tough. And they didn't bash each other in the press. That's something that really stands out. In a world where it's common for exes, especially famous ones, to throw shade or air out dirty laundry, they just didn't. They kept it private. Civil, because they knew their kids were watching. Listening. Absorbing every detail. That kind of emotional maturity? It's rare. And it's powerful. Because let's face it, kids are incredibly intuitive. They know when something's wrong. Even if you don't say it, they can feel it. So keeping things peaceful, respectful, even behind closed doors. That makes a huge difference in how children feel about themselves and the world around them. Now, this doesn't mean Johnny and Vanessa agreed on everything. Of course not. No co-parenting relationship is 100% in sync. There are disagreements, hurt feelings, tough conversations. But what matters is how you handle those moments. And from everything we've seen, they handled them with care. Johnny talks a lot about his own imperfections. About how he's made mistakes. He's open about the fact that he's still learning, still figuring it out. But he always comes back to one thing: being there. Even if you mess up. Even if you don't have all the answers. Just keep showing up. And maybe that's one of the most important lessons in all of this. You don't have to be flawless. You just have to be present. To try. To listen. To love your kids, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. He's also talked about showing his kids the real version of himself. Not the polished, red carpet version. Not the character in a film. Just him, with all his struggles, flaws, and lessons learned. Because he wants them to see that it's okay to be human. That it's okay to stumble. What matters is how you get back up. That kind of vulnerability builds real trust. It lets your kids know they can come to you. That you'll meet them with honesty, not judgment. And even now, years after their breakup, Johnny and Vanessa still try to keep things consistent for their kids. They may live separate lives, but when it comes to parenting, they're a team. They communicate. They agree on values. They support each other's roles. And that kind of unity? That's priceless for a child. It gives them a sense of stability that's not easy to find in this world, especially not in the world of fame. So what can we learn from all of this? Whether we're parents ourselves, or just trying to understand what healthy relationships look like. First, let go of ego. That's not always easy, especially when emotions run deep. But when you put your kids first, truly first, it changes everything. It shifts the focus from me versus you to how can we support them. Second, don't aim for perfection, aim for presence. Your kids won't remember every perfect meal or Instagram-worthy moment. They'll remember how it felt when you sat with them, really listened to them, showed up for them again and again. And third, let your kids see the real you. Not the edited version. Not the one who pretends to have it all together. Just you, growing, learning, trying. That's the version they'll trust. That's the one they'll learn the most from. Johnny Depp didn't just want to be a father in name. He wanted to be a father in action. In presence. In vulnerability. And through all the chaos life has thrown at him, the fame, the controversies, the personal battles, he's always circled back to one thing, his kids. They're his anchor. His reason. His pride. And honestly, that kind of love? It's what parenting is all about. So let's bring it back to you. What's something you've learned in your own journey, as a parent, a child, a friend? What's one lesson that shifted the way you show up for the people you care about? Drop it in the comments. You never know who needs to hear your story. And if this video meant something to you, there's more where that came from. We've got another story that dives into how Keanu Reeves quietly advocates for mental health, not for attention, but because he genuinely cares. It's a story that's just as powerful, and just as human. And hey, before you go, do the usual YouTube thing if you feel like it. Like the video. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you want more real talk. But most importantly, thank you. For being here. For listening. For sharing a few minutes of your day with us. Take care of yourself. Be kind. And we'll see you next time.